Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I am an exhausted DJ here with Tim's Nation, bringing you another Warhammer 40K related video. In this video, this video is kind of a checklist, and a checklist I'm running through right now, so I thought I'd share it with all you guys. I did one of these before, was pretty popular, people like seeing it, so I figure, hey, let's do this again. So I'm getting ready to head to Arch City GT in matter of a few hours, actually. And while getting everything packed up and situated to go, I'm going through the checklist of what I have, what I need, and all that stuff. And I am tired. So I figure when I'm going through the checklist of everything, why not share it with all you guys so you guys can maybe get some tips and tricks and ideas on stuff to bring to help make your weekend easy and a little light on the mind for certain items that you may take, and two, just also help you create your own checklist of what you need to play your armies at current events. So guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. Turn on the bell for notifications and get notified on more content that we make, such as this and other competitive and non-competitive 40K content. All right, so let's jump into this checklist because, man, it has been a long week. It got up into like 100 degrees out here. Super sweaty, super tired. So first things first, you're going to need your army. And right now, I have that all neat and packed up. Those who don't know, I'm taking Grey Knights. So I have my Grey Knights ready, and a lot of the stuff that I'm bringing is also going to have this Grey Knight list in mind. So we have that. I have my display board. Display boards, as I've talked about before, are a huge chunk of points, especially when you're going after a faction or a faction specific award at a super major and some high level GTs. So I have my display. I already got that outside of my car. I have my army, which is all packed up and ready to go, and that's going to be going out to my car here shortly. I have my travel book bag. So we're only sticking out there for one night. Luckily, we live close enough that we're able to travel in the morning, stay out there one night, play some games the next day as well, too, for a 2-day game event, and then come back Sunday evening. So I just have a couple of things with clothes, change of shorts, change of shirt, change of underwear. Don't forget that. Change of socks, definitely change of socks, and deodorant. Now, depending on your preference, and I'm going to tell you, I always do, my deodorant stick is actually in my gaming bag so that I have that with me when I'm at the event hall, because nothing makes you feel more when you're standing at a table and you can start smelling yourself and going, oh man, I got 2 more games before I can get back to the hotel room. So I always recommend take a stick of deodorant. You'll feel better the whole way through. So I'm going to stick a deodorant in my nice little multi-purpose travel book bag for the 40K gaming. But I do have my second book bag because I didn't need a suitcase or anything like that, which just has, again, shirt, hygiene supplies, and change of clothes, and a cell phone charger. So I keep my charger in my bag. I do not bring my charger with me because, one, finding someplace to charge your phone at an event hall sucks. 2, you don't want to have to stand by your phone. So usually you want to try and make sure you don't need to charge your phone. And that's pretty much the look of it. I get that phones can sometimes may not really allow you to have that luxury. Your phone might have a lower battery life and you may need to find a place to charge it. So if that's the case, you may want to bring a charger with you or a backup battery pack, which is also nice. I've seen a lot of people bring those to tournaments. For me, my phone battery still has a good life to it, so I shouldn't have to charge it at the event. But if I need to, at least we'll be closer to the hotel. My charger is staying in my hotel bag. Now, over to some of the supplies. So first things first, I made a nice little notebook for a little Grey Knight on there. And this notebook has all my paper in it. I have some scrap sheet paper. I have my core stratagems, my army roster, and all of my data sheets that I've made. Now, granted, there is data sheet cards, which some people may have picked up with their army. Me, I spent a couple hours and just printed them out. And mine are massive, too. So I do recommend having data sheet cards available. there's a lot of other things you're going to be using for your phone, such as scoring, and you don't want to put that extra stress on your phone because once again, if your phone battery dies, you got to find somewhere to charge it. So, and this is one that having those on hand, having something on paper like that, that will help you with your phone charger. And especially too to have them to flip through as well or show your opponent. And the data cards are all out, and those are really pretty nice. I just haven't picked them up yet. Now, over to my dice case. So I do recommend getting some type of dice tray to roll your dice in. This case and doubles as a tray as well. Just because it gets sometimes difficult when you start rolling dice. You don't want to throw them all over the place. And it allows you to create a central focus point for where you're rolling your dice for your opponent. This is a very courteous effort to do, where wherever the game may be, you can place the dice tray to signify where you're rolling your dice so your opponent can see and be part of the same game that you're playing. So what I'll have in my dice tray, I have 2 of these 6-inch measures and 2 3-inch measures. 3-inch measures are good for some like heroic interventions and stuff like that as they used to be. Now, not so much. Now the oh man, because of the 3-inch heroic intervention, these guys really don't do that much except for checking objective markers, really, honestly, on that sense. But these do have 2-inch for coherency, which is nice. But yeah, actually, now thinking about it, the 3-inch ones aren't really going to come into play as much. These guys I love. These little 6-inch measuring doodads are great, especially when your army is basically a 6-inch move. I have Terminators that are 5, I have Strike Squad that like to fly up in the air. But these things are still great. Great, quick, easy tool, so you're not having to dangle out a tape measure for everything else. You have just a real quick way to measure and compensate for the table in the 6-inch move. You have your dice. I take multiple different kinds of dice. So I have my rolling dice for my army, which are my Tim's Nation dice. Then I have some D12s in here for wound markers for my larger units, like my Land Raider. I have these dice, which are just anything that may come into a factor. If my opponent has an ability and they're not marking it, I have these multicolored dice here, so I can mark the ability to keep track of it for myself. Then I have single red dice that I use for wound markers, and then 1 black and yellow dice, Ghost Stealers, that I use for specifically my command points as I'm generating them. Then over here, and one thing that I think is a must-have for any gamer, and I do have a couple of regular objective markers that I brought just in case. And actually, I think these are going to come out of the kit now because there's one mission that the objective markers move. We won't be playing that this weekend. So that one, I don't really need those, but these I will. So I'm taking a couple poker chips with me, some white ones and some blue ones. For the Grey Knights, these are going to be marking my sticky objectives. I might put one under Crow to remind myself of his once per turn ignore the first failed save damage. And as well as the same thing to be able to mark opponents' abilities that come into effect. I recommend to anyone, if you can get just a box of poker chips, some heavy, good ones. I don't think these are actually clay. I think there's some like off-brand one because the box was like $2. But that box has the box I got has like probably 150 poker chips in it. And there's so many different uses, so many good uses for them over the course of it. And especially when you're testing out new armies, when you're trying abilities, having just something to indicate those different abilities is great. And I think poker chips go a long way with it for multiple armies to be able to do that stuff. There's a lot of cool gaming swag out there. My Necrons, I have like little mini monoliths I use, and that stuff's all great and fine. And when you find it, until you find something that you absolutely fall in love with and want to use, poker chips are great until that time frame happens. Now, I also have one of my favorite toys that I always bring with me, and this is already in here, 9-inch measuring sticks. I take 3 of these things, specifically for Deep Strike, and because Grey Knights that I'm playing, these will come in handy. Makes it much easier when trying to figure out where you can go, where your pockets are, and everything like that, instead of measuring with a tape measure and marking it out with dice. And speaking of which, as we've said it a couple times, it is very, very important, and one thing that probably one of the most commonly forgotten items I've ever seen A tape measure. You're going to need it still. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes way past the 9-inch measuring. And so you're going to need a tape measure for a lot of different things. Make sure you have one. The nice thing is that most events are usually run by a store, or there is some type of store, or a buddy will bring one. You can usually get one if you lost one, or buy one, or you're looking for a Home Depot at that point. All right, now I also have these. These are my objective markers. Now, if you're purchasing some of these for your own, try to keep in mind the dotted line in the middle. There are some missions that where the objective marker is important for placement, such as the mission where there's a mission that you place, our player place objective markers. Well, the objective marker has to be outside the deployment zone, but that doesn't mean the radius does. So having that dotted line helps out. These ones do not have the dotted line, but the 40 millimeter circle is roughly the same. It's the same like oh, I'm messing up the shape here, but the dice in the middle of each one of these markers is a 40 millimeter base. The only thing is that because this has squared off edges, there are some spots where the round out would continue. And that's, again, poker chips. If an opponent wants to be able to, if that matters to have that objective marker, we can put that down in the middle and still make it happen. But for the most part, these are really good, really awesome. I still recommend them. They make the game so much easier to be able to view when and where you are and if you're within 3 inches of an objective. So they're very good tool for that. Now, the last thing is a cool thing that my buddy Josh actually got me onto. So we now have the new cards. And of course, Games Workshop can't make anything normal. And we have these weirdly shaped large cards. And now, granted, they're easy to read. There is a lot of information on these things. But that means that typical like Magic the Gathering card sleeves are not going to work for these. So, but Josh was kind of told me the right route for these. If you purchase tarot card sleeves work for these cards. Now, some might say, why would I want to sleeve up these cards? These are just basic Games Workshop cards. It's not like they're a collectible that I'm trying to protect and save for all eternity. If they get destroyed, oh well. And that's true. But here's a couple things I want you to think about. So what happens when one of your cards, one of your attacker cards, this Deploy Teleport Homer card, gets a liquid spilt on it and it's destroyed? So trying to shuffle that into your deck, now you're going to see this wavy, damaged card. And now your opponent most likely will have their decks with them as well, so that you can swap out and use theirs. But your deck is now basically destroyed because one card went down. So by having plastic sleeves on this, if there is some water damage or something like that, it protects the card so I don't have to purchase another set because one card got destroyed. Also, in the same courtesy of destruction in these cards, as we shuffle them, you're pressing the cards against each other and it starts to rip them apart. With these sleeves, it gives a nice jagged, like flat edge to it that makes shuffling easier and also helps save the life of your cards. So no, in one hand, you're not protecting like a crazy collectible investment, but your quality of life, which is one thing I always try and stress on the channel, your quality of life for shuffling cards is going to be significantly easier, and you're not going to be really bummed if a Pepsi spills, gets one of your cards wet, because here's one of two things. If water actually does get inside the sleeve and damages the card, most likely you just need to replace the sleeve. If water gets outside the sleeve, then you wipe off the sleeve and move on with the rest of your day. So that's one thing that I really do. I really recommend that to anybody. Tarot card sleeves for your Warhammer Leviathan mission decks. I did find a deck box. The deck box are really difficult to find. I was only able to find them on Amazon. I went to a bunch of card shops and asked around, and none of them really keep these in stock because it's not common. So I had to go through Amazon and order a deck box sleeve. I got this one through Bolt Quan is the name of the company that made it. It doesn't quite fit all of the 40K. Now, both of my attacker and defender decks fit inside here, but there's not quite enough room for all of the other cards. However, there is enough room for the cards for the missions we're going to be playing. So I at least have enough room for all those in here, and this little deck box will be coming with me to once again condense everything. The final thing for 40K tournaments is this. Your big rule book. This thing is one of the most important things for you to leave at home. Now, as I talked about before, with not using your phone and not using your phone for all these other things, this giant monstrosity of a book is not going to be convenient for you on the tabletop. This is one time that honestly, and there may be a difference of opinion with this one, but my personal opinion is, don't take this. This thing is heavy. This is a textbook, and this is not a textbook you need when the app on your phone has all of the main rules. And in some ways, you're going to be able to search that faster than the giant Leviathan book. This thing is big. It is bulky. It is a pain in the butt. Now, when Games Workshop starts releasing the other mission pack books and we get the smaller ones like we saw with Arcs of Omens and those GT packs, those ones will be more convenient, easier for you to take on the road. They'll also be cheaper. These ones, like these giant books, these are collector's items. People still look for these later on and hold on to these ones. These very, very nice hardbound books with the bookmark and everything. These are collector's items. Those littler books are not really collector's items. They're paper-bound. They're not really a limited run. They're just printing. And those ones, you can mark them up. You can write in them. You can write in your friends that you took, Lane. And it's something that is very convenient for traveling in competitive 40K. We don't have one of those little guys right now. We just got the big boy. I don't recommend taking this because, again, this is something you don't want to get destroyed. This is a collector's item. And if you don't feel that same way about it, maybe you've already written in this thing, maybe you have tags and everything else that you need for it, then okay. If you feel you need this, then take it with you. Don't listen to me on that one. Personally, I think this is the time where the big book can stay at home and you can use the app with all the rules off of there. Now, I am aware that, yes, Games Workshop is saying there's going to be a paywall for using the app as opposed with Warhammer Plus. And that might be another reason to compel you to take more of the printed paper material as to not do that. But that, as far as I know, is still a ways off. So that's one of those iffy things. It's going to be on you. It's where it comes from with that. But personally, I recommend save the life of your book and use the app for rulebook purposes. Later on in this edition, when we get some of those GT packs, those I will probably say I recommend you take them with you. So we got our army. We got our display board. We have a book bag full of stuff, all our juicy toys and all the little things for fun in that. What else are we forgetting? Well, the most important thing is, especially with any of these events, no matter how good your list is, no matter how much you've practiced, no matter who and what and where and however, is to have fun. Have a good time. Remember, you are playing toy soldiers. And for some guy who you may be running into this event for the first time, that guy, the person, excuse me, let me correct that. The person that you play against, that may be their one time this summer or winter or season that they're able to get out and go and play some Warhammer and hang out with their buddies. And you're going to play against them. It should be a good time. You're playing toy soldiers. You're rolling dice. Yeah, there's going to be some disagreements with some rules. Some moments might get hot, but always bring it back to the reality of the fact that this is toy soldiers. And yes, it can get serious out there, but it doesn't need to be so serious that you ruin someone else's weekend, especially for some people that are just honestly there to have a good time and hang out with some friends that maybe they don't get to see that often. So, guys, that's my checklist for this tournament. I think I have everything I need. Some of the things I didn't mention, a clock. I have this one over here. Grab that for you. I have this clock here. If you feel the need to and think you may need it to time your opponents, make sure you have one and you can take one with you. These are relatively cheap. Again, you can get those off of Amazon if you search up chess clocks. And I think that's realistically about, oh, super glue. Super glue, super glue, super glue. Make sure, models break. Have super glue on hand. You may not be able to get the model perfectly the way you want it to, but having the super glue there helps you so you don't forget the piece and lose a piece there, and then have to go through the entire process of getting a new arm, painting the new arm, and trying to get it to match the body of an old model. I know that's something I've run into, especially with some of my older models, that the paint has aged, and the paint has aged as an entire dude. And then when you go and you're trying to put a new bit or a new arm on there, it's very noticeable because that's all fresh paint onto that. And next thing you know, you're basically repainting an entire model. And I have some Grey Knights that have gone well down that road. So, but yeah, guys, I'm taking Grey Knights. It is, if you've seen the last battle report, that was a rough one. It is definitely going to be an uphill battle for me on this one. I regret nothing. I regret nothing. I think the Grey Knights are a blast to play. I think that their rules are awesome. There's probably a lot of work that could be done to the army to make it more competitive. And I have my Necrons that I'm going to be playing a lot of Necrons here for the next couple months. So I wanted to get the Grey Knights out there, take them to a tournament. I love my display board, and well, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. So hopefully, gotta make sure I play my game, stay defensive, score my points, and try and come up big. So, guys, please wish myself, Lane, Zach, Josh, Sam, many people you've seen on the channel before. All of us are going out to this GT. Wish us some luck, guys, and we'll bring home a W for Cleveland, hopefully. I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.